Hello, this is Dr. Michael Greger coming to you live from my treadmill, as I do every month, to answer any questions you may have. For those of you who are unfamiliar with my work, every year I read through every issue of every English language nutrition journal in the world, so busy folks like you don't have to. I then compile the most interesting, most groundbreaking, most practical findings, new videos and articles I upload every day to my nonprofit site, NutritionFacts.org. Everything on the website is free. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorship, strictly non-commercial, not selling anything, just put up as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandmother. New videos and articles almost every day on the latest in evidence-based nutrition. Oh, what a concept. All right, let's get to your questions. Nice thing about YouTube is questions are already laid out, so I can just go right on down the list. Apologize, I was on Facebook Live a little over half an hour ago, and my sound wasn't any good, but hopefully my sound is okay coming to you now. All right, Matt Lincoln asks, what's the lowest amount of dietary fat intake per day we can eat and still be healthy? 10% of calories, or can it be lower as long as your omega-3s are adequate? But, you know, 10% calories is probably the normal amount of fat for the human species. Hard to imagine getting more than fat for the first 90% or so of our hominoid evolution. And, you know, some very healthy populations lived even lower than that, like 7%, like the Okinawa Japanese. There is no, I mean, so yeah, so you need to get your essential fatty acids. Once you do that, you don't have any need beyond that for fat. But this question was in relation to lean body. And you can have a lean body on a higher fat intake. It's just more difficult. But diets low in fat, that's low in added fats is actually one of the criteria. One of my 17 criteria for a healthy diet, for a healthy weight loss diet, which is the first half of my book coming out in December. All proceeds I receive, of course, for all my books go to charity. But instead of playing whack-a-mole with all the popular diets out there, I decided, well, let me just list the criteria which have been proven to facilitate weight loss, and then any new diet that comes along, you can put up against that list of criteria and see if it's efficacious for weight loss beyond, of course, being safe, nutritious, life extending, etc. One of those is low in fat. I talk about this amazing study on prisoners in Vermont, ethically dubious study, I may add. Where it was an experimental, you know, most weight loss studies are weight loss studies. This is an experimental study in obesity where they had people, prisoners, eat as much as 10,000 calories a day to try to get them to gain weight. And so so to gain 30 pounds, it took 100,000 calories more per unit body surface area to gain weight when they were eating a mixed diet versus just by adding fat to their diet. So it's super easy. It takes about 100,000 calories less to gain the same amount of weight if you're using fat. So eating a low-fat diet, you can effectively make 100,000 calories disappear. Just fascinating study. Anyway. But all right, that's just one question. Matt Lincoln's back though with question number 2. If you eat tons of veggies, fruits, beans, and adequate nuts and seeds, do I need whole grains for optimum health? Can you just be just as healthy without them, just based on the nutrients? Well, I mean, we only know. I mean, the nutrients that are, for example, on the side of a nutrition label or something are maybe 20 or so of the tens of thousands of phytonutrients that exist in nature. That some of which we don't even have names for yet, and may play a role in the reason why whole grain consumption is associated with improved health. The 5 things that are killing human beings, dietary related risk factors for death on the planet. So the number 1 killer of human beings is the human diet. This new global burden of disease study just came out to reveal that. And so what are the 5 worst things about the global diet? You think, oh, I don't know, soda, processed meat, all sorts of horrible things in the human diet. No, the 5 worst things: 1, inadequate fruit consumption, inadequate vegetable consumption, inadequate nut and seed consumption, inadequate whole grain consumption, and too much sodium. So Inadequate whole grain consumption is one of the top 5 dietary risk factors for death on the planet Earth. That's how important they are. Now, what's special about whole grains? So basically just seeds of a grass. So what about eating seeds of a tree or eating seeds of, I mean, I mean, are there nutrients found in grass family plants not found elsewhere? We don't know. It's never been put to the test, but I see no reason for not including whole grains in one's diet because they appear to be associated with excellent health. All right. Matt Lincoln again. See if you get on here early. You can get all your questions listed. If I ate unwashed vegetables, would I get enough B12 to be healthy? Not doing it, just wondering. Well, it would depend what kind of bacteria are on those unwashed vegetables. Very unlikely. And even if you did, the next time you didn't wash your vegetables, it's no guarantee that the next meal, the bacteria on those other vegetables had enough B12. Do not rely on dietary, on tooth plaque or the bacteria on your kitchen counter. We live in a sanitary world for a reason, and we try to decrease our bacterial load in our food. You need a regular, reliable source of vitamin B12, and that's fortified foods or vitamin B12 supplements. I recommend 2,500 micrograms of cyanocobalamin at least once a week. And there's also daily doses. I've got videos on that. I'm going to have a whole new series of B12 videos just updating people on the science, although I don't think it's going to change my bottom line recommendations, although I haven't gone through all the new science yet. Matt Lincoln again, do birth control pills increase risk for cancer? It's interesting. If I remember correctly, I may have this wrong. Birth control pills increase the risk of breast cancer and cervical cancer, but actually decrease the risk of endometrial cancer, ovarian cancer, and colorectal cancer, I think. So it's actually both increases and decreases, depends on what cancer you're talking about. Lauren Jackson asks, Dr. Greger, I've been whole food plant-based for 3 years since my heart attack and stent. Yikes. But so glad you're eating healthier. LDL, 131. I hope that's way down from what it was before. And their doc wants them to take a statin, understandably. And Laura is resistant, but what do you think? I think you should try to decrease it with diet first. So as on a whole food plant-based diet, presumably you have eliminated things that increase your cholesterol, such as trans fats, concentrated sources of saturated fats, and dietary cholesterol. Although, look, if there are plant sources of saturated fats, if you're, God forbid, using coconut oil or something, that can increase your LDL cholesterol. But if you really are eating healthy, you shouldn't have anything raising your cholesterol. And for most people, that's all it takes. And LDL should drop down to 70 or so. But some people, through genetic predisposition, just has a higher baseline. It's a bell curve. And so then you have to add foods to your diet to actively pull cholesterol from your body, as I've talked about. Dr. Jenkins, University of Toronto, my research heroes developed a portfolio diet. So it's a plant-based diet, but with added foods that bring down your cholesterol through different mechanisms, so they kind of complement each other. So like adding, soluble fiber-containing foods to your daily diet, like okra, oatmeal, eggplant, all these kind of, slimy vegetables, slimy foods, things like that. And so you just Google portfolio diet, see how far you can bring it down. But you need to bring it down some way. And if you can't, then pharmacologically you need to get it down some way. And if that's the only way you can do that through drugs, I would take drugs. Laura Jackson, So Laura Jackson again, total cholesterol 146. Oh, wow. Total cholesterol 146, an LDL 131. I would get your lipid panel taken again. That seems a little off. But all but one medication has been discontinued. Congratulations. But still taking a little amlodipine for blood pressure again. Just eating healthy, your blood pressure come down normal. If not, there are specific foods such as ground flax seeds and hibiscus tea that can actually drive your pressures lower. You may be able to get off that final medication under, of course, your cardiologist's auspices. And so you can just check out the high blood pressure chapter in How Not to Die. Becky Chan Art asks, what are your thoughts on Blackstrap Molasses? Is it green light to be taken for health benefits, or is it more amber light to be used only as a condiment when needed? Thank you. I would consider there are really only two kind of green light sweeteners. One is date sugar, or date syrup is made from whole dates. Anything, so date sugar is just powdered pulverized dates, a whole food. Two is Blackstrap Molasses. You say, wait a second, that's a processed food. It should be amber light. It's actually processed in a way to make it healthier. It's like cocoa powder. So cocoa powder is a green light food, but wait a second, it's been processed. Yeah, it's been processed to take the cocoa butter out, which can actually raise your cholesterol. And so same thing, so Blackstrap Molasses is basically sugar cane without the sugar, or with a lot of sugar extracted. That's kind of what's left over after you make sugar from sugar cane. And so it's really nutrient rich, lots of iron, lots of good stuff. It's a strong taste, but I love it. So I use it to sweeten things where the taste is okay. So I can use an oatmeal or something, but I wouldn't use it to sweeten tea or something, because I think it would just overpower the tea. But hey, if you like Blackstrap Molasses in tea, more power to you. All right. Tracy Irvine asks, diabetes question. If hubby's blood sugar is high in the morning, after a 12-hour fast, but not high 2 to 3 hours after eating, should he have a snack at night? The blood sugar is high in the morning. I don't understand the snack at night thing. Why would a snack at night lower your blood sugars in the morning? I mean, so your blood sugar shouldn't be, well, so what are your blood sugars, obviously? But your fasting blood sugars shouldn't be high anytime. So morning is a fasting blood sugar. And so, you should get tested for prediabetes. So you actually do what's called a glucose tolerance test. Your doctor give you basically a sugar drink, see how high your sugars go to see what kind of insulin resistance you have. So it's not about, So it's just an important question. You should not be having high fasting blood sugars anytime. And we should not be snacking at night because of chronobiology. I have a whole chapter in my new book on that. Very excited about it. Okay, Anahita asks, how is the daily dose and quantities of each category the same for everybody? Would a 50 kilogram individual need the same amount as a 200 kilogram? So the difference between a 50 kilogram and 200 kilogram individual is body fat. I mean, mostly. I mean, if you're kind of a similar height. Some of it could be muscle mass, but basically, that's typically how we. Depending on the nutrient, some of it is determined by body surface area, but just having extra body fat doesn't necessarily increase your nutrient needs. Remember, these are minimum. So daily dosing is minimum recommended intake. If you, athlete, need to get more calories in, absolutely eat more. I mean, this is not the recommended, it's just recommended minimum to get people to eat, to include some of the healthiest of healthy foods into their daily diet. Anahita again says most vegan omega-3 supplements include Carrageenan. Should I be concerned? It would include such a minuscule amount of Carrageenan. I don't think it should worry anybody. And of course, Carrageenan period should only worry people with some kind of bowel inflammation, as it may worsen bowel inflammation, but we don't have data that actually causes it in people that don't have it in the first place. Maro asked, today I ate ham with 2 scrambled eggs and ceviche. I should enjoy the same. Ham is a group 1 carcinogen. I was just on Fox Business in the morning yesterday talking about this new processed meat study that came out, published next month in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Showed that processed meat consumption hasn't declined over the last 20 years, essentially, or so. There's an abject failure of the public health community to warn people about the dangers of processed meat. Bacon, ham, hot dogs, lunch meat, sausages are considered known human carcinogens. We know they cause cancer in people, yet we continue to send kids to school with Lunchables. Increasing risk of colorectal cancer for about a 50-gram portion, which is like 1 sausage link, on the order of 18%. That's about the increased risk you get of lung cancer living with a smoker. So it's the risk of secondhand smoke, living with a smoker, being exposed to smoke all the time, about 15% increased risk of lung cancer. Well, you get about a 16% increased risk of colorectal cancer, or an 18% risk of non-cardiac stomach cancer. Eating a single, 50-gram serving of processed meat every day, and colorectal cancer is second leading cancer killer of men and women combined. And so, look, it's your body, your choice. You want to eat ham? You want to smoke cigarettes? You want to go bungee jumping? Go for it. But I choose to make healthier choices because there's lots to do. I have lots left to do in my life, and I want to be healthy to do it. All right, Katrina asks, I avoid oil on a whole food plant-based diet, so I confuse that when I advise to take plant-based EPA DHA. What are my thoughts on this oil? I mean, that's a minuscule. So, when I encourage people to consider taking 250 milligrams of DHA, for example, 250 milligrams, that's a minuscule amount of oil. I'm talking when I say no oil, no added oil, no added fats, salt, or sugar. I'm talking about using oil like in cooking. There's no reason we need to pour oil on anything. Mostly just empty calories, where we could be substituting those calories for something much healthier. So yeah, and of course the DHA is for cognition, and you can see my studies about that on NutritionFacts.org. Okay. Leanne asks, please talk about different types of vinegar. Are they all honorary green light? Absolutely they are, yes. Are they all equally beneficial? So they're all equally beneficial in that they're all sources of acetic acid. By definition, vinegar is a dilute solution of acetic acid, and that's the magic of vinegar. But, a red wine vinegar, in addition to having acetic acid, also has those anthocyanins, those red pigment compounds that white wine vinegar doesn't have. So same thing with balsamic vinegar. Pomegranate vinegar has phytonutrients from pomegranate, not a lot, but a little bit, more than in, distilled white vinegar or something. So, hey, you might as well get those extra phytonutrients. Or is there evidence they actually contribute to health beyond just acetic acid? No, but why not? But for the benefits of vinegar, any source would do. Of course, you're never drinking vinegar straight. I have a whole video on my caveats about doing it. But putting spoonfuls in a cup of water, or added to tea, or dressing a salad is a good thing to do. I actually recommend in my upcoming book, spoiler alert, December 10th, to have 2 teaspoons of vinegar at every meal. And we actually have not only randomized controlled data, but placebo-controlled data with CT scans proving exactly how much body fat changed with a regimen like that. In terms of accelerating weight loss, regardless of whatever else you eat in your diet, which is the whole second half of my book, How Not to Diet, coming out in December. Okay, Alan Johnson asks, now being full-time whole food plant-based, does that mean with cavities I have to pay for the sins of my past with drill and fillers? Another way to naturally heal cavities through diet. Superficial erosions can fill in terms of your enamel, but if you actually have a cavity that's punctured through, and then there's nothing you do to reverse that, as far as I know, and you just have to not get new ones and take care of the ones you have already. Sandra Early asks, is it possible to reverse a low-functioning thyroid? Well, it depends what the source. As always, treat the cause. What's the cause of low-functioning thyroid? If it's the most usual cause, which is an autoimmune thyroiditis, your body has attacked your thyroid, scarred it up such that it's not producing enough thyroid hormone, and presumably wouldn't. I mean, there are actually cases of people that have reversed it, but it's not something that's actually been put to the test in a systematic matter. But if the reason you have an underactive thyroid, you're not getting enough iodine or something, your body needs iodine to create the thyroid hormones, well, then the easy fix, obviously, is to not get enough iodine, and then it will reverse on its own. But other than that, one would presumably need thyroid replacement, hormone replacement for the rest of one's life, if it is indeed from a kind of scarred out thyroid. Relax Good says, is replying to Katrina, etc., says, what are the harms of yogurt? I have seen benefits, no articles on inflammation and any other issues. Yogurt would seem the least harmful dairy product. I presume we're talking about dairy yogurt. But I mean, so I have lots of videos on dairy consumption. If one is going to eat dairy, yogurt would seem to be the least harmful choice. So it's really a matter of, opportunity cost. So every, calorie yogurt is a calorie you can get from something healthier. So it depends what you're going to eat instead of that yogurt. So is yogurt healthy? Well, compared to what? Compared to, I don't know, ice cream? Yes. Compared to, I don't know, what would someone eat instead of yogurt? Compared to, eating oatmeal for breakfast? No, I think oatmeal would be healthier. In terms of, look, yogurt has 0 fiber, oatmeal's got a lot of fiber, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Where are we? Okay, Luis asks, eating while standing versus sitting, anything on that? Good question. Not something I've looked into. I don't know if there'd be any data on that, but so I don't know. That's cool. It's a cool question. Ben asks, are there any other hacks, such as the ground mustard seed and broccoli for sulforaphane? Any hacks I have found are made into videos on NutritionFacts.org, so just check out my videos. There's about 2,000 of them, so there's lots for you to do until our next live Q&A. Any sign of the fasting videos coming through soon? Yes, I have a webinar live, 3-hour webinar, July 26th, right? I keep telling people July 26th. Let me make sure it's actually July 26th. It is July 26th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's the first 3 hours. I have another fasting webinar in September, which will be many more hours. This one's mostly on intermittent fasting, as opposed to water-only fasting, although I do cover water-only fasting when it comes to weight loss. And all those, of course, will be in videos. Those should be out over the next few months. But you can watch you can watch 3 hours of fasting videos live, July 26th. Sign up for a webinar. I think we have about 1,000 people signed up. I'm excited about it. All right. Okay. Enoch. Sorry about name mispronunciations. Loves my work, what I do. Some people say they need healthier meat in their diet for various reasons, not just protein, but for thyroid function. That doesn't make any sense to me. Any concerns there? I mean, no one needs meat in their diet. Even the 1 in 20,000 people that have a deficiency that are born without the ability to create carnitine in their bodies, they have a birth defect, I could still take carnitine supplements. You wouldn't even have to eat meat in that case. I have a video about that. But no, there's no such medical condition in thyroid function. In fact, those who eat strictly plant-based diets actually are more likely to be so-called euthyroid, or have good thyroid function, not too low, not too high. That's in the Adventist 2 study. And they don't eat any animal products. Forget meat, just no animal products. And they seem to do better. How many cans of lentils should I eat every day? Asks Mark. How many lentils in a can? Now I make my own lentils, so I don't do cans anymore. But and if hopefully you're doing a BPA-free can, I think it's like a cup and a half. So it's a cup and a half, 1 can a day, right? Because I recommend 3 servings of legumes a day. Servings half a cup. So there you go. And I think, and for hummus, I think it's maybe quarter to. You have to look at either my free Daily Dozen app on iPhone and Android, or in How Not to Die. Go get it from your local library. And exactly how I cut down the other legumes. But for lentils, I think it's a half a cup. And so if it's a cup and a half, 1 can a day should do ya. Leah asks, is it possible to get all the nutrition you need if you have a legume and grain allergy on a vegan diet? That'd be tough. If you could not eat any legumes, any grains, I've never heard such a thing. But you would need to see a really good dietitian to make sure that you're getting all the nutrients. So, like for example, fiber intake. I mean, so legumes and whole grains are the number 1 and 2 sources of fiber. And so, if you weren't getting, so that is, for example, would be a nutrient of concern of mine if you were not eating those 2 categories of foods. Eric George asks, since I donate all my book proceeds to NutritionFacts.org, how do I get paid? My book proceeds don't necessarily go to NutritionFacts.org. The first book did, but they'll go to charity, period. But hey, NutritionFacts.org is a great 501c3 charity. Anyone who's interested in donating. And I am on staff. I'm the chief science officer. I used to have a day job as public health director at HSUS, but now I am working on infectious disease, but now I want to work on chronic disease full time. And so I now doing Nutrition Facts, and I'm paid. I'm on salary at so if you make a donation to NutritionFacts.org, you are helping me put kale on the table. Relax Good. Oh, it's just offering a suggestion. Maria says, do I know anything to help androgenic alopecia? What's that, you say? That's what it is. It's male pattern baldness. I have not, I remember looking into it once and not seeing anything, but it's not something I've peeked at, looked at recently. But if you go to PubMed, put in alopecia and diet, and anything pops up, let me know. And maybe I'll do a video about it. I could do a before and after video about it. Jojoba Cream or Creme asks, what do I think about a daily intake of 2 tablespoons of poppy seeds? Ooh. Scattered over morning oatmeal for a calcium boost. Is that reasonable or harmful? Ooh, sounds delicious. I have a video on the tolerable upper daily limit of poppy seeds. And I think it's over 2 tablespoons, but you'd have to check. So go to NutritionFacts.org, type in poppy seeds. I have a video on how much is too much. And so I just stay under that level. But for an adult, I think from my recollection, 2 tablespoons sounds perfectly fine. And that would be a healthy addition. The only concern is if you had to get drug testing, like if you were an athlete who got tested for, well, I don't know if athletes get tested for narcotics. Well, so if you were working at a job where you were tested for narcotics, you'd be concerned about poppy seed consumption because that's where, that's how they make heroin from the morphine poppies. Anyway, Audrey asks, are sweet potatoes in the same category as spinach in terms of oxalates? No, there's only 3. Well, okay, 4 with rhubarb leaves, but by definition, no one eats rhubarb leaves unless you have a garden because they're cut off because they're toxic. And so, yeah, no, the only 3 high oxalate greens you got to worry about are spinach, Swiss chard, and beet greens. And by worry about, only if you eat cups a day. Those are super healthy foods. I eat them. I encourage people to eat them. But if you follow my recommendations to eat cups of greens a day, as you should, I would diversify your greens. And if you're doing cups, you should use the low oxalate greens, which are all greens except for those 3. I mean, you're like, what? Never heard that before. Well, you have not been seeing my videos because those just came up. And so please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel or through NutritionFacts.org, and you'll be alerted when my new videos come out. Okay, Neha asks, what's the best way to avoid relapses of mild schizophrenia symptoms? Any remedies? That is not something I've looked at. I'm trying to think, schizophrenia. I haven't done a lot on schizophrenia. And I don't know what there is about schizophrenia. I'm sorry, I cannot help you. If you do, however, look at PubMed.gov, PubMed.org, and find videos, find articles about preventing relapses of schizophrenia and diet. Let me know, and I can do a video about them. And finally, the last question, as time is almost up. Carol asks, any special dietary supplement advice for those who've had a gastric bypass surgery? Yeah, particularly if you had a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass, there's all sorts of, you are at risk for serious nutrient deficiencies because you've cut out part of your digestive tract for which nutrients are absorbed. And so you can Google the list and make sure, and you should be supplementing your diet with nutrients. And there's been very serious cases described in the literature of people running into problems after bypass. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going back in the trenches to help everybody eat healthy. Have a wonderful day. Bye. How do I turn this thing off?